Hi, everyone. Welcome to New Answers Podcast. This is a community of individuals, everyday people, as we call ourselves, that are sharing solutions to life challenges based on our personal experience. And for some of you who have been following us, as you know, we have been having a continuing conversation on spirituality, looking at spirituality as a means for finding solutions to life challenges at a personal level, but also, at a broader community, society, world level as well. Because we think that making a strong connection, having spirituality is making a strong connection to the the, the divinity, the God consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the higher power. In making that strong connection, we get guidance on the steps that we need to take and what we need to do to overcome this human experience that we're having, right? And we've talked about a number of different things. And today, we want to take a look at the news and talk about, because from the spiritual community that I come from, Agape, our spiritual leader calls the news a prayer request. Just looking at what's going on in the world and understanding that, you know, that it's situations that are happening from the point of view that folks have lost their connection to the higher power, and looking at the news as a prayer request, trying to help people make that connection. I think we might be able to get somewhere. And so, again, joining me on this odyssey is Tiffany Lee.
Hello. Hi, Gwen.
And so I like to think of it, learning from the spiritual leader that I, listen to, uh, Reverend Michael Beckwith. I tend to look at the news, and I'm trying to stay away from it because it's so negative. But I tend to look at it as a prayer request, and so there's a lot to talk about when we when we look at it from that point of view, right? There's
Right.
wars and the wars and rumors of wars. I'm hearing now about this conflict between Pakistan and India.
Right.
I mean, and it's not like it's new. I mean, it's been happening over centuries, but it's kind of a resurgence right now. So that's just one sort of prayer request. There's all kinds of things going on with, racism, and we talked about this other thing. So what's your take on this, Tiffany?
So when you said that, I thought about it and I was trying to, at first I didn't really understand what he meant, but when you just mentioned it, I thought, oh, it is a good perspective way to look at it because it's so much negative, so much shadow coming out of the news, so much harm to humanity, really, that you can turn on the news and it does give you a prayer request. You can literally just sit there and pray for those people. So I really actually I think I'll do that when I get off this podcast because I was not just the news, social media, um, the people that ICE are arresting. I guess that's a really good way to handle the news when you feel like you feel hopeless. Like, what can you do? And I think I've been waking up a lot seeing the news, seeing something on social media, seeing the latest inhumane thing happening, and I get sad. So I feel, I'll post on Facebook, but I'll feel like there's nothing I can do, but that there is something I can do. You can like connect with source right then and there and do a prayer for the situation, not just the person, but the situation, and do a prayer for the situation we would like to see, like to create, right? Co-create with source.
Exactly. Because yes, so we are human beings, but the connection is this spirituality gives us this connection to source, and we become co-creators of a world that we want to see, a situation that we want to see, and we making that connection, at least my understanding it. And I am really new and nascent in my development of spirituality, although I've been going to the spiritual center since, what did I say, the early 90s, I guess it's been. Um, Certainly, yeah, probably the early 90s, maybe the mid 90s, whatever. Anyway, I still feel like I am new at this and still learning. But from my understanding of, and where I am in my development, if we can make that spiritual connection, and see the truth of what's out there. Like a lot of this is kind of imagery, it's not necessarily the truth. If we can stand firm in um, our belief system that this whatever is happening out there is because people have lost their connection, and what I see happening, well, we can just create the situation that we want to happen and focus our attention on that, and because what's happening out there is dark. I mean, it's a lot of darkness, but we want to bring light into that situation.
Right. And I want to correct, it's they don't no one loses their connection. God is always connected to us, but they're not in alignment, right? So they're not in alignment with the connection of source, God, but they're in alignment with the ego. And it's so much ego. I mean, and that's why Jesus says, forgive them because they know not what they do, right? Like
Yeah,
they're literally an ego. They're really disconnected from love, disconnected from source. Um, and I guess it's a prime example of like when you're so disconnected from source, what you can do and what you can get, the path you can go on. So, but because God is always with all of us, then based on the science of mind teaching, right, where there's one source, we're all connected with source, then we have a connection to all those other people. And that's why when we align with source and pray for them and put them in our thoughts and send them love, source is the source is the source to send that love to. Maybe start bringing them back in, and we could pray for interventions. We can pray. There's when you think about it, and I'm so glad you brought this up because now I'm thinking of so many ways that we can help
yeah,
through prayer and where prayer can really work. I mean, a lot of people put prayer down, but I think it's because they don't understand how prayer works, because prayer really only works when you really understand what you're praying for. Not what you're praying for, but how you're praying, who you're praying to, how it's supposed to work, and that's being in alignment with source.
absolutely. And I like that alignment instead of me, yeah, you're right. Uh, the spirit is everywhere, and it's not like we are disconnected from it. It's just that we are out of alignment with it.
Mhm.
Haven't We haven't recognized it. We haven't plugged into the source is there. I mean, the energy is there. The higher power is there, but we haven't tapped into that higher power. We are out of alignment with that higher power, and that we're connected in so many ways. I mean, that's what we've been talking about on this series of conversations that we've had. All of these ways in which spirituality kind of shows up in our lives, that
Mhm.
we're only the ones experiencing it. And as we're talking about it, we find that there's everybody, you know, is having some aspect of this experience, different aspects of a spiritual experience. And it's about us recognizing that, calling it out, and nurturing that. Because maybe if we nurture it, that we can have, that we may have more control over it, right? We can bring it up when we need to. And prayer is one of those ways to do that, right?
Right. Aligning with source, and
Oh, yes.
because we're co-creators, that we're creating all the time. And that's the thing. When we're being negative in our mind, we're creating actually negative energy. So when we're being positive, then we're creating positive energy. I think I said something earlier today to someone that we're either creating or destroying, in our energies. And Jesus said that too. In our words, we're either blessing or cursing. So we have to be very careful with what we say and do and think, because
Mm,
thinking as powerful as, speaking. And a prayer with true emotions and intention in it can also be called like a spell, right? Um, so it's the intention in our speaking.
absolutely.
And this is just coming to me, if more of us have intentional speaking for peace as the collective, and I see more of us as the collective, as everyone on this earth, is our intention, intentional thoughts and words and speaking is peace, then that's what we'll create. And it's so hard because we wake up and we see all this negative and we fall right into that negative energy,
Yeah.
and even though we might feel like we're doing good, like, or me, when I post something on Facebook that's pointing out something horrible Trump did or something, whatever, like I know I'm putting something out there in negative energy. I mean, I don't know it at the time. I know it now. I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to be really conscious of putting out good, loving, positive energy when I put something out there. And I've
Absolutely.
done that, and it still triggered people like crazy. When I put out love, the people that are not in that energy are so triggered by it. It's so weird.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So what's coming to me as I'm listening to you is, just on a real micro level about what we're talking about, um, and how it's really difficult. We talk about it like it's easy for us, it's easy to do, but it really isn't easy to do. But the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it'll become. It's like anything else you do, exercising a muscle, like
Right.
it's hard in the beginning, and you feel like strained or whatever, but the more you do it, the easier it'll come. So on a macro, so today I got an email from someone that I've been working with on a project. And the email, the way, the wording of it, this is how words and intentions and thoughts and whatever make a difference, came across as negative to me,
Hmm.
kind of dark, sort of, and it was like questioning my motivation, I think, or questioning I went to integrity. And
Yeah.
the human being that I am, I was starting, I could feel the blood rushing up to my head, and I could feel my ears getting hot, like I was getting angered, at this. It's like, how dare you, question me? What do you, so, so then, I mean, because I was ready to do a knee-jerk reaction as a
Hmm.
human being that was going to go into that same negative space. And then I took a breath and I said, okay, let me just chill for a minute. So it took me longer than a minute to sort of calm down and not do that knee-jerk reaction. And I had to read some affirmations
Uh-huh.
kind of get myself back into this place that I really want to be, a place of light. Because this to me came across as dark, as I said, negative,
Hmm.
dark. And I thought, why go there? What So anyway, I finally got myself calmed down, and I was reading through one of the couple of the affirmations, and one of them was about wherever your attention goes, whatever you have a tendency to do to look for, you will find. So if you tend to look for negativity, you'll eventually find it because the energy you're looking for, you're looking with, and you'll begin to see it, experience it, and call it forth at the same level. And I said, okay, I don't want to go there. I'm not, I'm not going to go there. And then the ending of another affirmation was, um, to, just remember to practice your spirituality on a regular basis, and you will develop the consciousness of the individuals who live in high victory. You will become less concerned about vibrations that are coming at you and more concerned about vibrations that are coming through you from the indwelling presence of God. And you will stop reacting to outer circumstances and start radiating your light from within. Okay, I'm good.
Wow. Okay. I got chills with that. You actually need to put that down in the comments afterwards. Connect it just so people can read that because
Okay. So,
I'm going to just based on what we said, that's exactly what we said, right? And in my head, I was thinking when I wake up in the morning, because I asked my boyfriend about that this morning too. I was like, how do you not get in a negative place when you hear the news all the time? And he's like, oh, I'm on a diet. I know where I'm going to get it from and when I'm going to get it. And so I'm like,
oh, like
I,
diet?
huh?
Like when he said he's on a diet, was he talking about a news diet? What is he? Ah,
He doesn't have it coming from a lot of different avenues like I do. I wake up and it's breaking news, this happened and this happened. And I struggle to not get caught up into it. And it can be 5 in the morning and I look at my phone, and I see something and I I'll catch myself scrolling and getting upset. And I'm like, no, I should be meditating first. So I am gonna write myself a note and say in the morning it's gonna pray about it. I want to write down what you just said to be conscious of what comes out of me because we do want to lift up collectively the energy out of it. And we do have, a choice in how we react to everything. So when you were saying that, I was thinking about what made me upset today. It was on TikTok, and a lady was showing how ICE had two incidents where ICE had like taken a woman and her teenage daughter and threw the teenage daughter on the ground. And so, yes, that can make you mad, right? And, you know, and we're not saying arresting at this point. We're saying kidnapping. They're kidnapping people with no warrants, nothing. And that can make you so mad. It makes me so mad. Okay. So, and it puts me in this negative energy and I want to put stuff out there and I'm mad at everyone that likes Trump. But you can also look at the community and how they're fighting for the people. The community, fighting ICE and the police and trying to protect their neighbors. And so that's the beautiful part of it, right? Um, and to appreciate that and
yes,
get there is more of that. I think that that needs to continue, that is what's going to make the difference between now and then from Nazi Germany. Like I don't think we're going to get there. I think we have enough fight back
yeah,
from people. We are not going to tolerate this. This is not what we signed up for.
exactly.
And to put love out there for the people that are defending them, And so that's what I'm going to do for now. I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to put love out there and be like, thank you to the people that fight for um, innocent people that are being kidnapped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we're human beings. We're emanations of the divine spirit, but
Mhm.
we are in a human experience, we're having this human experience. And so we go to those emotions, and though, and we get caught up in that kind of negativity until we, sort of come to ourselves and say, oh, wait a minute, that's not where I want to go. That's not really the place I want to be and what's really happening. I want to be a place of calm. I want to be a place of, uh, expression of love, and and hopefully help that sort of radiate out so that it becomes contagious, that this love feeling becomes contagious.
Contagious, because energy is contagious.
It is. And that
Yeah,
you must feel ill, that that the more it'll spread, and it will contain that darkness, if not make it dissipate. That darkness will go away and will be replaced by the light that we shine,
right,
because we know the truth of what's out there. But we know the truth of God is all there is. There is no place where God isn't. And that
right.
all that forth, whenever this other stuff shows up, which demonstrates that they are unaligned, right? They're unaligned, and we're going to show up to help put them in alignment and help guide, because this can't, no, we're not gonna let that happen. So, and that's what this conversation is about. That's what these recordings are about, to help bring that to light, to help bring, make that a dominant, way of being in this world, rather than us being, like I say, diminishing or dismissing, or we've just been uh, suppressing, I guess, this, and we shouldn't suppress it.
We shouldn't.
Yeah.
No, and getting angry, like what just hit me was anger doesn't cure anger, you know? Love conquers all. And I know that we don't really think it does. That's the problem. We really don't believe that statement, but if we believe it and we act more on love, if if it's this true, God says, Jesus says, love conquers all, then that is the answer for us to be in the energy of love. Um, what's what's hitting me right now is that this subject, and you brought this up, literally is love from spirit, because it was really bothering me this morning to the point where I was just like, I need to know how to get out of the mood I'm in every morning when I see the news.
Yeah.
And so um this is basically the answer, right? Like you decide to talk about this and then the answer comes, and that's how involved God and spirit is in our lives. They're like, oh, we're going to answer this later today, you know?
Yes. You put that out there into the universe, and the universe said, okay, so here's what you do. Here's what you do. But you're right. So the love conquers all has become sort of an empty platitude, or whatever the term
Right,
is.
right.
It's kind of trite, I guess, and sort of overused. And so we just, it just kind of goes over our head. Love conquers all. But it's
Or
true.
we don't believe it. We don't really put,
So
we
we don't,
say it without the right intention. We don't say it with the right belief system.
that's
So,
the right belief system. And it
mhm.
doesn't come across as, us really believing that. It comes across as kind of a throwaway line, right? And no, we have to really, because like you said earlier, be intentional about the word choices that we use, be intentional about our thoughts, because
Mhm.
they make a difference. It really does make a difference. What you put out there into the universe, your example today, like you were trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? How do I? And then the answer came as we started talking in preparation for this recording. It's just
Right,
somewhat, I was going to say magical, and that's like the miracles, the little miracles that happen, right? When you when you put this out, this sort of Um, it could be a prayer, right? I mean, it's not what you would consider like a formal prayer. Like you're not down on your knees necessarily, but you have expressed, I want to uh, start my day in a different way so that I'm not caught up in this negativity. That's a prayer to me. And then the
Yeah.
answer was, okay, so let's talk about the news as a prayer request. Um, and yeah, yeah, we do have to say, you know, uh, emphasize the fact, I guess, again, that words do mean something, and it makes a difference. And so, when you're saying love conquers all, really truly believe that,
Right.
come at it from your heart. Um, And so and while I'm thinking about it, this is kind of off of what we're talking about, but it picks up on where we left off in our last conversation when we were talking about universal law. And you had mentioned having read two different versions of the Ernest Holmes book, Science of Mind.
Hmm.
It was the anniversary 50th or whatever it was anniversary version, and I guess what you read was kind of washing over you and you weren't really getting it. But when you read the next version, which is because I think we said we were going to tell people what that version was.
And I never did. So it's called the original version. Um,
Yes.
and I downloaded it online onto my tablet. I found it free, a PDF version. So um, when I read that, I understand the teachings better. It could just be me. I mean, everyone um learns differently. And also, since I did take the class, I did read through the other version already. It could be because it's a second time coming in.
Yeah.
But I do recommend that you read it, Gwen, because you're there at Agape and you have all these high level spiritual teachers.
Yeah.
And not until I read the book did I realize that I didn't really resonate and understand everything as well as I could
Mhm.
because um because when you have these teachers that are pretty high level, you know, they're teaching from where they are. And I'm sure they try to teach to the masses, but they're teaching from where they are, what's already very ingrained in who they are. And we're not there yet. So we think we understand something, but then when you learn more, you understand it even more.
More.
So, and you mentioned like you aren't far along in your spiritual journey. Well, the thing is, creation is constantly happening. And it's so much to know that it's not like we ever get to the level of knowing everything. I don't know if there's anyone other than Jesus that got to Jesus level of Christ
Yeah.
consciousness.
Mhm.
I don't know. There possibly could, but as far as in recorded history, what they
Yeah.
say in the book, there hasn't been anyone.
Yeah.
But it is, the goal if it's necessary. I think what's should be the goal, regardless of whatever gifts we develop,
Mhm.
is us being in alignment with source and creating our life for the best that we can. You know,
Yes.
if we um create life for the best that we can that we want to, what's coming to mind right now is my nonprofit. And this is how I met you through my nonprofit. And um and I'm beginning to see God entwined in things I do all the time, including, meeting you. Because when I decided I was going to go to Haiti, it was my friends that came to church and they told me what they're doing. And I was like, oh, I want to go see you this summer. And I just put the words out there. And here I was, like a single mom. My kids are in junior high. I have no idea how this is going to happen. I'm barely paying rent. Long story short, it happened. I ended up getting there. I didn't have to pay for it. Someone paid for it. I don't even know who. And went and what we did my first trip was something I was trained for because I had already been teaching mission
Oh.
work church I was at. Yeah. And that's what they wanted to mission training at the church I was at, and even though that's my first mission, but that's what they wanted to train other people on. So anyway, but that was all God, right? I spoke the words, oh, I'm going to come. And then I didn't think about it. I let it go. I was like, I want to go. Okay. I took steps because they called me and they were like, well, here, I want you to read this book, or here's this or that. And it just all aligned up. And I ended up in Haiti, and then years later, when I decided I wanted to do a well, I went to build wells in Haiti.
Yeah.
I Within 4 days of a phone call, when I knew where the first water project I was going to do, someone called me and was like, I was praying and I heard that I needed to give you money. And it was the exact amount of money I needed for the first water project. The
Oh,
exact. And even she was like, are you sure, Tiffany? Are you financially okay? And I was like, yeah, I could use that money, but it's too much of a coincidence. You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's not a coincidence. Like that's the exact amount I need for this. So I got it, sent it right out, didn't take any didn't risk any temptation. I got the money from her and took it straight to the post office that day, but
Oh my gosh.
uh
So we talked about this before, like these miracles that happen, right?
yeah,
These tiny, tiny little. So it's like you said, words are powerful. You put the word out into the universe and then let it go. I know we talked about it last time about the universal law. Put it out into the universe and then surrender, right? Release,
right,
and then
right.
right back. What?
Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh! I mean,
And then my first year in the business, when I was like studying like wells and water projects, I came across someone in our networking group that connected me to a another woman when I at this point had decided I want to build full villages. Keep in mind, I'm barely paying my rent, but I want to build full villages in Haiti. And I got caught up with her, and she's an engineer, and she had this goal too. And we were designing things and designing villages and working. Or she was designing it. I was supposed to present it and try to raise funds for it, but that didn't work out because she couldn't. Her brain was so out there that
mm,
when I designed something, I was like, "Can you design something that I could take to regular people and say and explain how this works?"
yes.
Also, she couldn't put a price on it. I was like, to raise money, I need a price tag. So it just didn't work out, dropped it. A year later, we're working together. And then a year later, I think it was when you introduced me to C2C, who's the nonprofit building villages. And
Oh,
so now we're partnered.
well, see, this is so. I hope people are inspired when they're listening to this. I really, really do, and can make those kind of connections in their own situation. But you see how these things. It's like you said in an earlier recording. These puzzle pieces that come together, right? And
Right.
about putting that word out there in the universe, and then the match for the vibration that you put out there shows up. Those whatever you need shows up, and especially after you put it out there, you release it. You don't fret over it. You don't try to figure out, well, how is this going to happen? The how is
It's
that.
not our job, right? Now you hear that all the time.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's not our job. That's God's work.
Right.
And all these twists and turns, or whatever it takes for them to come together, those puzzle pieces to come together. God makes it happen.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and like I keep saying, I know it sounds easy for us to say these things, but as human beings, we tend to, ego gets in the way sometimes, and we tend to not want to let go. We try to figure out, well, how can I do this? And it's not you. It's not you. You just put it out there and just let it go, release, surrender, and it will happen. but
Yeah.
it's, you know, like a God consciousness, you know, coming
Yeah.
from. Oh, that's so inspiring. So we want to hear from you all the experiences that you've had that are similar to this, just in terms of your putting into the universe, putting that out there, whatever it is your prayer is, whatever it is, if you don't want to call it a prayer, your
Quest order.
yeah, your attention, and then let it go and then see what happens. Wait and see what happens. Just watch what happens. It'll happen. It may not happen instantly, but it will happen. I don't know what the time frame is between, you know, your having these connections that you had. I guess it's been maybe a year between some of these. I know anyway, but they do
It is, but for every situation, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So I have a desire,
right.
and the universe says yes, but they have to prepare you for it.
True. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and I think picking up on something else that you said earlier about I shouldn't really put down the fact that or come across as I'm putting it down, that I am new in my development, because we all, you know, there are different stages of spiritual development, right? And it's not, you know, one isn't any worse than the other. It's just that it's an evolutionary process
Right,
that we all pick up on things as we need them, as we grow. And some are
right.
more fully developed than others, but I guess I shouldn't make comparisons, is what I intended to say, you know, about
Yeah,
how developed I am compared to somebody else. There shouldn't be that comparison. It should be like
because we all have our path.
we all have our path, and I'm where I need to be now.
Exactly.
I'm where I need to be now. So, so this has been a fabulous conversation.
It
I mean, I'm
was
picking
fun.
so many things, and it's, you know, so many things are starting to really gel with me in having these conversations. Um, so again, we want to ask and invite you all to uh, make in the comments section the experiences that you've had similar to what you've heard us talk about this time, or even in previous recordings that you've heard. And please do subscribe, because when you subscribe, each new episode that we upload, you will get a notification of it. And in that way, you can keep track of, you know, where we are in our recording. This time we were talking about basically, we got off on a lot of different subjects, but the news as a prayer request. And so the next time you look at the news, think about that and think about what prayers you want to put out into the universe to change whatever that circumstance is that's being presented on the news, so that we can uplift, you know, we can lift the situation out of the darkness into the light together.
Yes.
And that does it for us this time. So we hope that you will join us again. Until then, I'm Gwen Flynn. I'm still Gwen Flynn.
I'm Tiffany Lee, and thank you for coming.
Yes, and we'll see you next time.